am a American patriot and a prepper, so I know quite a bit about different gear and firearms and all kinds of stuff. But I'm also a truck driver. Yesterday morning, about 4 in the morning, I was making a delivery in Southern California at a warehouse, and they told me, oh, I had about a 3 hour delay before I can get unloaded. So I went into the driver's lounge in the warehouse and I was looking around the facility and I saw a couple U.S. Marines in there and they're chit chatting. So I started walking around, looking around, but they had a whole assembly line going of basically plate carriers like you'd use going to war. But they had an assembly line and they had Baofeng radios, which is a cheap $20 ham radio. They had cat tourniquets. They had chest seals, stop bleeds. They had water filtration inline for hydration packs that you put on the back of your chest gear. And I was looking through and I was talking to the guy from the Marine Corps, and he said, "Oh, it's going to be for a big paintball practice. First off, those chest rigs they're putting on do not hold paintball tubes.
Wait,
All
how
those
is this?
chest
Wait,
rigs
hold
will
on, Richard. Can I don't get how this is related to arming the Iranian people? Am I missing something here?
yeah, they're putting together. They had ordered for over 10,000. There's nowhere you can go online or anything like that. U.S. military has their own gear already for any training purposes. This was like base budget, $100 Amazon chest rigs,
So again,
tourniquets, mag
can you?
pouches.
I'm still missing. I'm still not understanding this. How is this related to arming the
Okay, well,
Iranian people?
well, because when they were loading it into these totes, and I told the guy, I'm like, "Oh, what are these? I've never seen these in shipping." He said, "Oh, these are U.S. military for airdrop." He said, "You can drop them anywhere in the world, push them out the back of a plane, parachute opens, the gear lands." I said, "Oh, so you're gonna airdrop all these chest rigs with all these supplies for a paintball practice?" And he said, "Yeah, of course." But I was talking to the guy, and he didn't know I knew half of what I knew as far as tactical gear and all that. And then also they were setting them up, so there was like a group of
Okay.
25 chest rigs that had for
I'm
five
s- I'm still
magazines.
not Richard. I'm gonna ask one more time. I still don't see how this is related to arming the Iranian people. I asked one last time, and then if I don't get an answer, I'll
It,
see
it,
some other people seem to
oh,
be understanding you better than I am. So one more
okay,
time.
okay.
Yeah.
Look, they're basically building like all the gear you would need to build out and gear up a squad of about 30 people, putting them into individual things. One unit would have communications with binoculars and all that
Okay.
for somebody
I'm
doing
gonna move to
recon.
other people because you're not answering really my question. I think you're going into so much detail that is not really answering my question. So I think other
Yeah,
my
basically they're building equipment in containers that you can drop somewhere with gear to have an army, like the instant army. Here's your gear in an airdrop
and
container.
you just saw that happening, and that's your assumption that this is what it's for.
Yeah, because they're being
Mhm.
secretive about it, and the comments they were making wouldn't make
All
no
right.
sense. If you're playing
I'll
paintball, you wouldn't need tourniquets, you wouldn't need stop bleed, you wouldn't
I'll
need
let
a lot of that
I'll
stuff for paintball.
let me see some other people here who have some experience in military and information. They put two in the chat. Let me see what they think about what you just said. Okay, let's go to them because I don't think.
Somebody knows what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got our four for the response list. Thank you, everybody. First up is Sketch.
I would like to go after Jeff because Jeff would be more knowledgeable on this. I would know basically on the ground level, and I can speak to that. But Jeff can speak on the higher level, what he's talking about organizationally, why and who you would field here, why it might be mercenary or that kind of thing, more than direct operations, that kind of thing. Jeff, then I'll talk.
Before Jeff, before you speak, I just find it's really hard to believe. By the way, I'm gonna mute whoever's not speaking. Mute your microphone so that we don't hear the background noise. I'm just having a hard time believing that we just walked over to the very military operations that we all talk like. We could just witness that happening. And anyways, you go ahead. It's just hard to believe this, but go on, Jeffrey. You go ahead.
So I think what he's saying is because he's involved in prepping and the rest of it, so he's kind of like watching specific tactical gear that's very common amongst the prepper community. And when you see a lot of if the supply is going down and they're organizing these supplies in a manner that would be akin to airdropping them into, say, Iran. The pallet has enough stuff for a squad. Remember, we talked about the issues of airdropping stuff. Your opinions are over here, your bullets are over there. So what they count, one of the things we looked at, I sent to you guys, is you'd organize it as pack and play, unpack and play. So that way each pallet can support, let's say, a squad. So at least I don't have to go and organize shit after stuff hits the ground. So he's saying, I think what he's saying is, because he's monitoring just generally being what he does, like the supplies that you would use, and there's a lot of overlap between those supplies and things you would use to arm, say, Iranian civilians or lawful unconventional combatants. And because the supplies going down and how they're being, and the nature of those supplies, it lends itself to the idea that the United States government or some actor is buying them up and organizing them so that they can be dispersed amongst the resistance.
Okay, but
That's what he's
Jeffrey,
saying.
do you really think that whatever the United States is planning to do inside Iran could be this visibly obvious and as involves buying stuff on the open market? Hold on, let me finish my point. And be is based on equipment that you buy on, I don't know, Amazon. I just think also, by the way, Richard, I hope you don't get upset with me, but I also I also think that the prepper community might be like more into conspiracy theories a little bit, and maybe seeing patterns and connecting dots that are not there. But sometimes don't get angry with me, but sometimes I think they're more prone to do. But go on, Jeffrey. Tell me why I'm wrong?
So your guarded nature is very well taken. That said, even though it sounds incredulous, it does happen. That's actually one of the models we pursue to support Ukraine defense forces, and actually used to use things like the Spirit of America to disperse stuff. That's not classified. That's exactly what the Spirit of America was created to do. So it's not the only line of effort or even the primary line of effort, to be sure. That said, it's not out of the realms of, I can't say the possibility zero. Right? It's not.
I can't say the possibility of Santa Claus being real is zero, but I wouldn't take it seriously. There's very little things with yeah.
So my point is,
yeah,
it's not zero. It's not at zero. It's not 100%. It's in the lower tiers, still possible though.
Okay. Everything is possible, but okay. All right, let's go to Sketch, maybe see what Sketch is. Thank you, Jeffrey.
It's a possibility. I'm just seeing a pattern, and a pattern is very different, because we don't have a pattern of spotting Santa Claus, but we do have a pattern of doing this. So it's very different.
You do have a pattern, like gifts show up at your Christmas tree. So
no, I'm talking documented. You can try to be obtuse about it, okay, but we can pull out documents. If you want to do a deep dive, we can start pulling out. I'll write a paper on it.
There's documents for every theory. It's okay. People like there are ways to connect dots to come up with whatever conclusion that you want. That's why we have.
I think you're just dismissing it outright out of prejudice.
I'm not.
I think you're not taking it seriously, because
I'm not
you don't have no knowledge on this.
So those 2 points are contradictory. Okay, I'm not taking it seriously. That's correct, but I'm not dismissing it, because I think everything is possible. Everything is possible, but I don't take it seriously until there is a higher, because things that are possible are not possible enough for us to take them seriously. So somebody saying this is possible, so you should take it seriously, to me that doesn't make any sense. There are infinite number of things that are possible, but the possibility needs to go above a certain level for us to take it seriously, right?
So you're saying it's only one report? Also, you would want more reports?
I need to, again, it's not just about the number of reports, it's about the quality of reports, because humans have this bias to seeing patterns where patterns don't exist. Okay, people are evolutionary, our minds have been wired in a way to over recognize pattern, and we love seeing patterns where patterns don't exist. So there are many reports that come up with theories that are not backed by it make it seem very, and also the more interesting it is, the more biased we are to actually take it seriously. Sometimes we're actually more biased based on how interesting a theory is, rather than how much the data that we're collecting back it up. The scientific model was created exactly to fight back against the inherent biases that the human brain has. to recognize pattern where pattern doesn't exist. So
I see.
but again, I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying just because something could be true doesn't mean we should take it seriously. It should be much more than could be true. It should be like, oh, this is actually more than 5%, more than 10%. Because when you say something is possible, we're talking about a whole bunch of theories that could be under 1% likely, okay, but still not 0%. And it will cover all of that. For us to take something seriously, we need to show, in my opinion, that it's at least 5% likely.
I see. You'd want more pictures, you'd want more reports, and we also ignore patterns. Sometimes they say hindsight 2020 because we should have seen the pattern. So I see both sides. I see what you mean by that.
Yeah.
But
Also,
but,
even if I
I'm just
see
saying it's
picture,
possible.
even if I see pictures and data, okay, I don't trust myself to make sense of the pictures, right? For every field, there are people. So there's different obstacles here, okay? Then there's data collection, and then there's data interpretation, okay? So sometimes we have data, but that data was not collected in a professional way. Sometimes the data is collected in a professional way, but it's not interpreted in a professional way. And there's usually people within a field that are experts in collecting the data in a professional way. And there are also professionals in that field that are experts at interpreting that data. And that professionalism is not something that is just claimed, it's proven by demonstrating predictive power and also non-conservative power, meaning that the interpretations are not contradictory to other models that have proven to have predictive power. So these are, when we say somebody is professional, we shouldn't just label them as a professional because they sound like an expert. It should be because they have demonstrated their credibility in provable ways. So then, because we don't have the ability for us every single time to interpret the data, for us to become experts in every field and interpret the data, then sometimes we appeal to legitimate authority, because the fallacy is appealing to, a lot of people say appealing to authority is a fallacy, but it's not true. It's appealing to false authority that is wrong, because you always need to appeal to some authority, because nobody has the time to become an expert in every field. So sometimes some authorities proven that they know how to do pattern recognition because they are experts in that field, and then you appeal to their authority to analyze the data for you. Sorry, I went on. That went too long. Anyways.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, Armin,
No,
but I wanted to make 2 points that Sketch and Jeffrey might have missed. I didn't hear anything about ammunition. I didn't hear anything about weapons of any kind, knives or anything of any kind. So I am automatically thinking maybe it was paintball. I play paintball. I'm no longer athletic enough to survive out there, but I can see some of that stuff being used in a paintball, large paintball situation. I do know the United States military does use paintball so that they don't have to shoot each other with real bullets in some occasions. Never knew that big of an operation, but it was, if it's just the protective gear stuff and reconnaissance gear stuff, I don't know. To me, that sounds like there's something missing from what he saw. Maybe he didn't see it because it was a different part of the warehouse. Warehouses can be huge. I get that. But at the same time, you're going to drop weapons on one and then the backup equipment on another. To me, you want them together to be more efficient. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay.